Google's conduct distorted competition among ad exchanges. Rather than letting the best of the ad exchanges win the race, the helping hand of the powerful Google ecosystem gave Google's own exchange a unique head start over all other rivals in the industry. AdX could afford to keep its commission high without losing its advertisers.
EU Commissioner Margrethe Vestager there. Google being accused of abusing its dominance over advertising technology to crush competition. Now, that says the European Union now fires off an antitrust charge sheet that threatens a breakup of the lucrative business. But look, it's a process that can take years to resolve. Let's dig into the details. Bloomberg's Mark Bergen is in London, Sam Stolton is in Brussels. And Mark, with the expertise of Google here, I immediately want to get their response. We've just heard from Margrethe Vestager, and none of this seems to come as that much of a surprise to them, right?
No, certainly both having Vestager stand up and accuse them of monopoly, of acting as a monopoly and dominance. And then this same accusation around ad tech. This is something that they actually had first in the U.S., an identical case that they were using sort of both sides of the market in this pretty opaque and pretty powerful world of digital publishing. So I think that's probably a contribution why the stock basically didn't move. Investors have basically priced in this regulatory risk.
Sam, just in layman's terms, what is the European Commission and the EU accusing Google of doing within the market it is so heavily involved in?
Yes, and hello here from Brussels. Well, effectively, the European Commission today has filed formal antitrust charges against Google's actions in the advertising technology space. And specifically, it's focusing on Google services that match supply and demand for advertising space online. And it's really all about self-preferencing. What the European Commission says is that Google has effectively self-preferenced its own services to the detriment of other rivals in the market, and this could obviously have distortive effects further afield in the online ecosystem. And these are formal antitrust charges. The investigation was first launched by the European Commission in Brussels in April 2021, and it's very much, as I say, this first step in a procedure that could go on for a number of years.
Mark, explain what is Google's advertising technology business different from its broader ad offering?
Yeah, it's hard to unpack in part because it is that the ad tech is so pervasive inside of Google. Like when we think about, and the commissioner talks about it, it is basically their machinery that deals with the buying and selling of online ads, of everything that's sort of not Google's owned and operated property. So the things that aren't Google Search, aren't YouTube, aren't its Play Store or Maps. But at the same time, is using that same exact machinery to make Google Search ads, to make YouTube ads much more powerful, much more effective, and to, I think that its competitors would argue, sort of elbow out these services that are playing the digital publishing field, but don't have the tremendous data resources of running the world's biggest search and video and mapping platforms.
What's interesting here, Sam, is sort of how they're going for the jugular, the EU here, saying, look, remedies aren't enough to your business model, you need to start hiving parts of it off. But will that become some sort of a reality? Because this is going to take a long time in the courts.
Well, indeed, and I mean, it was one of the main messages today from the press conference with the EU's Commissioner for Competition, Margrethe Vestager, and she effectively said that behavioural remedies were insufficient in correcting the anti-competitive abuse here. And what's really fascinating is to watch the growing transatlantic sort of alliance around the option of structural remedies, or like you say, hiving off certain parts of the business in order to correct the anti-competitive abuses, because as Mark just said, there are of course a number of lawsuits open in the United States against Google's ad tech business, and the Department of Justice, at least in its lawsuit, has recommended the option of potentially structural separations. And as I say, one of the core messages from the press conference from Vestager was that's very much an option for us too, and we're now going to engage with those discussions with Google to see if we can make progress further afield in terms of correcting these problems.